Good evening, everyone. It is episode 79 of Manifesting with Meg, Conversations with Extraordinary People. And tonight, on this first day of November, can you believe it? We're almost to the end of the year. We have Frank Agin. He is here tonight to celebrate the month of gratitude with me, and I couldn't be more excited about it. He is a incredible collaborator and he is an incredible networker, and you guys will get to know a little bit more about him tonight. But this theme tonight is be grateful for the challenges, which I think is quite perfect timing for me, and certainly maybe someone out there could also benefit from the perfect timing of all of us looking at those things that may seem to be the obstacles in life that are truly the things that benefit us all in the end. And at the end, we can all be grateful for those things. This is a show about transformation, dreams, inspiration, true happiness, discovering bliss, and as always, it's time to manifest the life of our dreams. So welcome to Manifesting with Meg. We're all steps away from living the life we all desire, packed with possibility. Good evening, Frank. It's so great to have you here. I am so really honored. You are a rock star in and of it yourself. That is for sure.
Okay, if you say so.
I do. I say so and I know so. So I can tell you this. One of the things I love best about this show is that we get intentional at the outset. We set our intentions and then we move forward accordingly. At the end of the show, you tell us based upon your intention what that is, and also the insight of the day from Magical Guide to Bliss. This show was thought out of my book, The Magical Guide to Bliss. It is a book of 366 daily insights of the day, and each one will take you on a journey. Perhaps if you're looking for some magic, open the book to whatever page and see what actually guides you. We have Connie here. Welcome, Connie. We have Carolyn. We have wonderful, wonderful things in store for all of you. So let me introduce Frank before we go on. He is the founder and president of Am Spirit Business Connection, an organization, like I said, that empowers entrepreneurs, sales representatives, and professionals become more successful through networking. In addition, he consults with companies and individuals in various industries to help them become more effective with their networking efforts, business relationships, management, and the use of social media, which we all certainly can use now these days. He's also the host of the Networking RX podcast. It's a weekly short form podcast that shares ideas, insights, and interviews that help audiences become more successful through professional networking and have better business relationships, which we could all benefit from. And he's the author of several books as well, including Foundational Networking, Creating Know, Like, and Trust for a Lifetime of Extraordinary Success. My kind of guy. And he grew up in Michigan, Upper Peninsula, and has an undergraduate degree from Beloit College in Wisconsin. He has a law degree, so I imagine we can call you a recovering attorney as well, Frank, and an MBA from the Ohio State University, and earned his CPA while working as a tax consultant with what is now called PricewaterhouseCoopers. So Frank literally has more letters after his name than in it. I do like that joke very much, so I might use that as well myself. But with that being said, what I do love about him the most is that he is an incredible human being. He brings a lot of value to every conversation, and he's here with us tonight. Welcome, Frank. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate the buildup. This is great.
No, and it's true because I've seen you in action. So I've seen what kind of amazing things you bring to the table. I will have to plug at the outset that you have an incredible networking group that had been such a blessing during the whole pandemic, where it allowed me and many others meet a lot of really quality individuals and business people on Zoom during a time where everybody was kind of like flailing and wondering what to do next. So you offered that wonderful space, and I'm certainly grateful for that, because listen to, even at the outset, grateful for the challenges. We had the challenge of how we were going to show up in this world, and you provided a solution to that. So super grateful for that, because I got to meet you and so many other wonderful people. Good evening, Leslie. Thank you for joining us today. So once again, we're going to welcome you. And like I said, this is the month of gratitude, triple ones today. So that's amazing. And we have 2 months left of 2021. So I really can't believe it. The time just flies. We were basically at this point in 2020 thinking, when will this ever end? And certainly I do think we all can see light at the end of the tunnel with that. I want to say, based on the theme today, the quote that we have to start us off is from J.C. Penney, James Cash Penney, and he says, "I am grateful for all of my problems. After each one was overcome, I became stronger and more able to meet those that were still to come. He grew in all of his difficulties." And I really believe that at the outset, there is, in the discomfort of life, that we truly get to know what we are, who we are, what we're made of. And if we never went through life, if we never experienced the challenge through life, we would never know what we're capable of surviving. And I think that even now, I think all of us are so capable of so many things in light of what has happened in the last 2 years. And I think the future is really bright. I think especially when we have all these wonderful enlightened ones at the table. So with that, I like to say we transform ourselves from victim to spiritual warrior. And I like to say that we're all like warriors from one day to the next, which could be, something wonderful always happening the next day. So thank you for the job well done. And also, that we have gratitude that we have, in fact, not sat where we were, but we've started to transform on the journey. What are your thoughts on this tonight, Frank?
Well, that was a lot, actually. No, I recorded a podcast interview last week, and I was talking with somebody about just challenges, and I don't like to commiserate. I really don't. In every setback, in every tragedy, there's a gift there.
Yes.
And there's lots of examples out there. But he said, he told me and you may have met him. Peter Biotish, but he's part of the Networking Hub. He's a publisher and he's written 17 books. Great guy.
Yeah.
But he said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, "I've always said that within the mess, there's a message."
Oh, right? That's great. Oh my God. Wisdom, people. Within the mess, there's a message. I love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And it's very true. I mean, it's, we have these setbacks and, I think we all get these messages. I've gotten lots of messages on LinkedIn. Hey, how are you doing in these trying times?
Yeah.
You know what? And they are trying, but it's been really neat. I never would have met you but for COVID.
I know, that's crazy, right? I mean, imagine my whole world opened up because of COVID. That's crazy. And you brought so many wonderful powerhouses to the table as well. I love it. There's a message in the mess. What do you think the message was in that mess?
Well, for me, the message is there's a big world out there. And again, I don't like to commiserate, but when you live, I grew up in Michigan. I live in Ohio. I live in the shadow of Ohio State. The Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. I hear about it all the time, and it's kind of like, okay, this is where I live, but I don't. I always tell people this isn't home. Michigan's my home.
Yeah.
And but it just kind of opened up a world, and you start to realize that there's all sorts of people out there, and the problem with high school is we get into high school and there's a limited number of people in our class, right? You have a graduating class, even if it's a few hundred or several hundred. There's only so many people in your class.
Mm-hmm.
But once you go out and you get into college, then it's not just your class, but there's other class. You start to get to know other people, but then when you get out into the world, then even more people because you're in a community. You're in Miami. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. Yeah. But with the pandemic, it opened up the whole world, and there's lots of people like us out there.
Yeah.
Right. And we just have the opportunity. I meet you, you introduce me to somebody else. And we're all kind of part of the same sort of tribe of, warriors, as you put it,
I love it. Yeah. I love it. I do want to say that the more tribe of warriors all coming to the table to have conversations to make a difference and find solutions in the world, sign me up for that. And definitely in the space that you hold in your groups, that definitely is something that comes through and through and through and through. People who are through the generosity of their own gifts as well as their kindness, coming to the table, willing to share, and also opening up the conversation to see how they can help others, which is really, it really speaks to you. It really speaks to how you intend to show up in this world. And I think that, as a recovering attorney, I would love to ask you with regard to that, as to your journey, because I think there's so much wisdom in the journey. I think that when you realize at a certain point in time that maybe something that you were doing is not something that you want to continue doing, and you make that shift, you empower other people or give them permission to do the same. So tell me a little bit about your journey overall, and where you've been and where you want to go. And Connie is saying to you, congratulations for all your accomplishments as well. So I double that. I second the thought and the sentiment for sure.
Well, it's interesting. I do appreciate the accolades. And I think the accomplishments were really part of the problem. I know that's going to sound funny. I'll explain it. But born in Chicago, spent some time there. When I was 5, we moved to Madison. My dad got his PhD, and that led us up to a little town 4 hours north of Green Bay, Houghton, Michigan. It's a college town. For me, that's home. And if US 41 ends in Miami, Florida, it ends just north of my hometown. So
there you go.
Yeah. Well, I tell people that my dad and my son live on the same street. There's just 2,000 miles between them. They both kind of live on.
That's because your son does live down here, right?
He does. He lives on Miami Beach, but close enough to US 41. Yeah. But at any rate, I had an opportunity to go play college football, small college football, Division III football. I never even visited the school. I just found out I could play football and decided I was going to go play. And I went there, and I didn't want to get kicked off the football team. So I studied real hard because I didn't want to flunk out of school.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize that people didn't study real hard like I was, and I ended up doing really well. And so they sat me down early on in my junior year and said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to go back to my hometown and open a video store. I mean, this is the 80s.
I love it. Oh my God.
VCRs are just coming out, and they're like, no, you need to go on to professional school. So I ended up getting accepted to the Ohio State University Law School, and they had a joint degree program. At that point, my mindset had shifted. You know what? The best way to get ahead in life is study hard, do well, get all sorts of credentials, right? So I've got a law degree, I've got an MBA, I've got a CPA, I'm working for this accounting firm. To me, that was like an unstoppable combination. And so those are the accomplishments.
Yeah.
But in reality, none of that matters. Everything matters is relationships. So I have this job at this big firm, and I'm not miserable. Well, maybe a little miserable.
Be honest, right? This is yeah.
Well, but I mean, we're kind of duped, aren't we? Right? Great job, great pay, great coworkers, great environment, a lot of prestige. For me, it was that tax word. I didn't want to do taxes for the rest of my life. You're kind of stuck and, wear a white shirt and a red tie and a blue suit. And it's just like, this is just. So I left and went into private practice. And I tell people that a funny thing happened when I went into private practice. And the funny thing was nothing happened. I had no idea how to get clients. I mean, if you've ever been to a networking event and there's that, we'll call him a jerk, running around handing his card out, that was me. I had no idea what I needed to be doing. So I had lunch one day with a friend of mine who is an attorney as well, and she took a different path out of law school. There's a saying, well, at least for our law school, Meg, there was a saying: A students become professors.
Yes. B
students become judges. C students become millionaires.
Oh, we always had lawyers, but millionaires, I like that better.
Yeah. Yeah. And so she took a different path, and she was doing really well. And I asked her, I said, what do I need to do to be successful? And she said, you need to get into a tips club or a leads group. Well, I really didn't know what she was talking about, but through a couple introductions, introduced me to an organization. For people who are familiar, it was very similar to BNI. Okay. One person per category, meet every week, learn about each other, exchange referrals. So I
So,
went to this
so it's called
meeting.
Tips and Lead Group, and it's basically a networking group in your law or in law school or out when you finish law school when you went off on your own,
When I
right?
went off on my own, yeah,
Okay,
that's when I was connected to it, and immediately made total sense.
hmm.
Because Meg, I love talking about your books. I love talking about you. I love talking about Bert. I love talking about all the people that we know together. Andrew's great, so on and so forth. Um, and I could do that all day and feel just totally energized. And if I self promote for 30 seconds, I need a nap, right?
That's awesome. Well, yeah, I get that. I get that 100,000,000% if that is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you walk into this room, and the whole notion is you promote the people around here, you help the people around here, and just trust they'll help you in return. I
Nice.
can do that.
Yeah.
So I got involved in that, and make a long story short, I ended up buying it in the early 2000s, and I stopped the practice of law. And that changed the entire trajectory of my life. I became a student of networking, a
Amazing.
student of relationships, how they work, why they don't work, how the
Yes.
brain's involved, why we do things that,
Yeah.
um, and that's who I am. And so connecting people is just, it's fun.
I will say this, and Connie actually says it on the feed. You need to do what makes you happy in life. And I
Yeah.
think that like the essence of everybody on this journey is not that if you jump into something and like get all these degrees and you're not happy, you're a failure. Real failure is staying in there and not like
Yeah.
choosing to see what else is out there for you. And you have so much wealth of knowledge too that you can build on. You'll never lose the fact that you have the CPA, that you have the MBA, you have the JD. I mean, all of that, you can't get rid of it, unfortunately, in
Yeah.
many respects you might want to, but you have it. The thing is, you have it, and now you have what makes you so happy in life to be in a group of people with that generous, bent, as well as, meeting wonderful, wonderful, individuals who show up in your world, in that world. And it's changed, sounds like it's changed your life, really.
Yeah, oh, it has. I mean, it definitely has. Well, and it happened early on. I think it's probably true of lots of entrepreneurs. I remember working at the firm and lamenting having to work late or going on the weekends. And
Yeah.
then and that was, and my last day there was December 31st, 1994.
You remember it.
I do. But I remember that first weekend, January of 1995, the phone ringing in my home office, and I'm just kind of sacked out in bed. And I just got up out of bed and went to answer the phone. I was excited about going to work. It's
Yeah.
mine now. It's mine.
Yeah.
And I don't know where the journey's going to go, but it's mine, right?
I know, and I think a lot of people out there, I think they're talking about the pandemic pivot, the great resignation, people basically showing up and saying, I just don't want to do this anymore. Look, we just faced possible near death in many respects. Who knew what was going to happen if you got COVID? And the reality is this it? Is this where I want to end up my last day? Oh, I guess no. Okay, maybe I said something that the universe didn't like at this point. But anyway, the reality is that is this really it? And if the answer to yourself is no, there's got to be something better out there. I think the first step, to a journey is 1,000 miles. Is to take that first step, right? Take
Yeah.
that. And I love, I always ask my guests, basically, what is it? What quotes get them going? And you sent me some amazing ones, so I'm going to share those right now.
Okay.
First one is there's no competition for excellence. Tell me a little bit about what that means to you.
Well, there's actually a funny story because the guy who shared that with me stood me up once and was late to the second meeting. But he kept, but that was his mantra. And it's like, well, you don't live your mantra. I didn't say that to him, but he didn't live his mantra. But I love the quote because what that says is stop worrying about the people around you and just focus on getting better.
I
That's all
love
you need to do. Just focus on getting better. I have competitors in my business and people tell me about them all the time. And it's like, yeah, thank you. But I just need to work on me. I can't worry about them. I've got to work on me. I've got to work on the organization. And if I work hard
I
and
love that.
continue on a path towards excellence, then people are chasing me, chasing us.
Yeah. Disney said that. Walt Disney say that. Do what you do so well that people are going to see you doing what you do and go back and grab their friends to see what you do. And then they're going to want to do what you do because they want to emulate you. And I think at the bottom of any kind of beginning of a journey, you're right. Stay in your lane, focus on your dream, focus on your thing, and meet people who are there to collaborate along with you, who are ready to come to the party and support that, because you literally are that kind of person that you support others as well. And I think that's amazing. Here's another one. Sometimes you have to create that which you want to be a part of. Tell me a little bit about that. And thank you, Connie. Connie's saying definitely exactly that. So go ahead. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is where I got this. Well, actually, someone had asked me to get on a board. It was very contentious. I knew it was going to be very contentious. It was a youth soccer league.
Oh.
I knew it was going to be very contentious. And they needed somebody to step up. And my wife had heard this quote and she handed it to me. Sometimes you just, you need to create this. If things are wrong, you need to create it. And I think it's true of all of us, is that, if we're not happy with where we're at, go build it.
I love that. That is so exciting to me. I think that a lot of people are miserable because they literally think that this box that they reside in is it. But there's a whole world outside the box. And what you just said is on point. If you don't see it, you have it, that genius, go build it. Is that what made you really feel excited mostly when you started Am Spirit and your different franchisee groups, that you were going to build something better? I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember talking to my wife when I was getting ready to kind of take the leap. And I told her, I said, if I practice law, I'll have a good life. But I know where I'll be 30 years from now. I've ridden up on the elevator to the law library with a number of times, right? And obviously a lot has changed, and going to the law library doesn't really happen as often, but I just knew what the life would be. I said, if I take this other path, I don't know what it's going to be, but I'll create something. And that's the beautiful thing. And that excites me.
And you have created something amazing. And I definitely want to, at this point in time, invite anyone out there who's interested in being in a really dynamic, amazing group. Not this Wednesday, next Wednesday is his next meeting with his networking hub. And we'll be sure to leave that information in there. But he has created such a special place where a lot of people come together to offer their various talents. And Suzanne is saying, this speaks to me, create what you want. And I really, truly believe that, I tell my kids this all the time, and maybe this resonates with you. Every time you play someone else's video games or ever play someone else's stuff, you take away from that time where you get to use your imagination to create something of your own. And I think that in and of itself is so important, because then you kind of dial it in where you could be expanding from within. So I love this. And Suzanne's saying she would be honored to be part of the group. So I'll definitely reach out, and you guys, I'll definitely leave the links in the feed. But let's move on to the next wonderful, which I love. Your greatest day is yet to come. Of course, there's hockey involved, so I had to ask you about that as well. But tell me a little bit about this quote.
Well, the picture, that's from Miracle on Ice, or the 84 or the 80 Olympic team.
Yeah.
And I just grabbed a picture. But, when I wrote my book, Foundational Networking, I have a place, and there's a lot I talk about in that book. And it's really about what my philosophy on networking is. It's not these tactics and strategies you use out there. It's your attitude and your habits regarding other people, and certainly yourself. And one of the things I talk about, an attitude towards yourself, is you need to have this attitude that your greatest day is yet to come.
Love it.
You don't be that star quarterback that lives in the bar reliving that glorious season, right?
Yes.
And so I wrote that in the book, and I dedicated the book to my kids, and I told them in there, I said,
Love that.
Never forget your greatest day is yet to come. Now, my boys, well, all of my kids have played in the state championship game. My boys won the state championship in soccer. They're big soccer players 3 times. And I told them after, your greatest day is still yet to come.
Love
Just
it.
never stop believing that. Always be working for something better.
I love it. I always tell my kids the same thing. You don't want to peak in high school. There's
No.
a whole lot of life after high school.
Yeah.
That would be way too early to give up on any kind of dream that you have. So I totally, on that point, totally vibe there because, this is what Suzanne's saying. This keeps me going. The best days are ahead. And, imagine that they might be different days. They might be interesting days. They might be curious days, but they're still going to be those best days. And the great days yet to come keeps you going. And Mike Spatola saying, your tomorrows can be better than your todays. And I love that. I think that that is a wonderful mantra to keep at your side, especially when you feel like you've hit a wall or perhaps any kind of challenges, right? The whole idea is that the miracle in that picture, came from a team that was not likely. It was not a likely win. And if they went into that game thinking that it was not going to happen for them, that their best was behind them, they certainly wouldn't have come out with a win at that point and really inspired so many. So when you do believe in yourself beyond imagination, you do inspire so many people who are watching, and you give them permission to say yes to the possibility that their greatest day is yet to come as well. I love that. And this is the last one we have. You cannot discover new oceans unless you have the courage to lose sight of the shore. And tell me about this. What does this mean to you?
I had to dig this out. But when I was working for the firm,
I love it.
It's hard to see. When I was working for the firm, flying around, going to clients, probably miserable. I hate to say that because there were good people there, and it wasn't for me, right? It just wasn't my joy. And I knew I needed to do something, and I knew I was very entrepreneurial, but there's the paycheck, right? There's the stability.
Yeah.
And I was flying to a client or something like that, looking in an in-flight magazine, and they were selling cards, motivational quotes on it. And I saw that card,
I love it.
and I read it, and it just spoke right to me. And I went out and I bought those cards with that on there, and I put one in a frame. I have the one I have in a frame, but I put it on my desk, and I went to work every day and reminded me that I just need to have the courage to walk away from this thing. Wow. I had the courage of just going from a decent salary and benefits to nothing. And I just, every time I read that, I could just feel the energy in my body building, saying, you know what, other people have done this. Other people have left their job.
Yeah.
Other people have taken risks. People went sailing in the ocean. They had no idea what was on the other side.
Wow.
You know what? I can do this. So,
and anyone who's out there listening and contemplating perhaps a new path, the fact of the matter is Frank and I meet very uniquely at this spot, where it is exciting and terrifying all at the same time. But the reality is, as long as you keep putting one foot in front of the other, or in this instance, on a boat, keep rowing, I guess, keep rowing out there, you'll ultimately get to where you're going, or perhaps, to the next best story of your life. So if you keep writing the next best chapter in your own way, then you have the possibility of gaining something beyond your imagination. And Mike's saying, fear of failure is staying close to the shore. Courage inspires risk taking. And that is, in fact, what you did, Frank. And the reality is, at the end of the day, what can you say to whoever is listening after you took that big leap of faith into the unknown?
Well, what I will say is, life is not a Hollywood movie, right? 2 hours later, everything's fine. And, I'm retiring 20 years ahead of where I would have. I mean, it's not a Hollywood movie. There's a lot of challenges to being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of benefits. I mean, I've got, 2 of my kids are off in the working world. My youngest is a senior in college. I never missed anything. I was able to kind of chart, and there's value in that. Got to pick my kids up, go home with them, make them pick up their room, things like that. So there were frustrations. But I think that you need to realize that And what I have realized, I've never worried about losing my clients. Now, if you work for somebody, you have one client, your boss.
Yeah.
And I've never had that fear that I was going to lose clients. Yeah, I lose clients every day. I've got hundreds of members, so people are coming and going all the time. Um, but it's just to have that control over your life is, I don't know. It's having a job is really I don't, it's a lie. I guess is the best way to put it. It's a lie. You
Well,
know.
I will say this to your point. I think that for some people, that freedom that you have to make those choices and not have to ask permission, knowing full well the consequences of your choices will have some kind of, some kind of outcome. You get to balance it out and weigh out what is important to you and what are your priorities.
Yeah.
And I will say this just because I think it's important as well, is that you, Frank, have never shirked on any kind of responsibility that you undertake yourself. You've got an incredible amount of integrity. You've got once again, you have an incredible amount of value that you add to this world. And I can't imagine you sitting behind a desk doing tax and accounting as an attorney. It just doesn't seem like it would match that passion and purpose that, needs to come through. Certainly what I've seen with you. And I think that a lot of people would certainly be missing out on something really magical if you were not, or you did not, journey into those new oceans. So with the courage that you would lose sight of the one shore, but you would find another, which I think is amazing. I will say as well, I love you, Connie. I got to say, I love people like you out there, all the audience today, because the reality is that at the end of the day, we all have something to offer this world. And I think that we have our people who also support us with those offerings. And I think it's really important to have those tribes, right? Those tribes of warriors that we all want to rely on in life. So once again, let's get back to the whole idea of manifesting, because I think manifesting in and of itself is that creative collaboration where both of us come together. I think we froze, but I'm going to keep going because I know we're being recorded on this end. But the bottom line is, in the manifesting, in the magic, in the miracles, we find a lot of creative, juice. Let's say juice. And the bottom line, I always find with that creativity is that those tools that we gain over time become really important when we are out doing our thing. So I have a question for you. What are the tools that you use in your life that help you do what you do, from crossing vast oceans and to finding your new shores?
I mean, tools as far as
Like, what works for you? What do you go to for that wonderful sustenance to keep you on the
yeah.
path that you want to follow?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there are a number of things. I was telling my assistant this morning, I've exercised in the morning as long as I can remember.
Oh,
Um,
that's great.
I am talking. Well, here's how it all started. I bet my cousin in fifth grade that I could do 10 pull-ups by the end of the week,
I love
and
it.
so I worked on it every day in the morning for a week, and then when I succeeded, I just kept doing it. I just kept, hey, that wasn't so bad, and I just kept doing it. I'm fifth, sixth grade, and I'm getting up and I'm working out, and I've just continued that on through. And now my wife gets up and we go for about a 4 mile walk every morning, and light lifting of weights. We're not crazy about it, but we have an opportunity to talk and connect. Get some fresh air. And I think that's, I start the day with that.
I love that.
Um, other things that I do. Dan LaFave, I think Dan from
Yes,
the,
yes.
he got me onto writing affirmations every day. There's an app he showed me on a phone. It's called Prompter, and every day you get a set of affirmations and you write them every day. You don't type them, you write them every day. And after 21 days, you get a new set. And so he and I are in constant contact about, hey, I'm on day 195. He's on day like 900 and whatever. So he's way ahead of me. But it's kind of an interesting little exercise. It literally takes about 5 minutes to write these things out. And then what he's coached me to do as well is to write out what are the opportunities from the day. Being on this is an opportunity.
I love it.
And the point behind that is that when you acknowledge the opportunities in your life, you're open your mind to finding more of them.
Yeah.
And then the other thing he has me do is, what are my intentions for tomorrow? What are the 3 or 4 things I really need to tackle tomorrow?
I love that. And so when did you start that? And now, how have you seen your life expand since beginning that?
I started it probably in April. When you're writing these things out, I'm on my 10th set of 12 affirmations.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
you know, um, I know exactly what to think, say, and do to generate maximized returns on my invested time.
I want you to share the affirmation process with everyone, because I think it
Yeah.
really was of a major value, at least for me. I can see myself using those techniques and those skills. And I think that at the end of the day, we will all benefit by virtue of you offering your things that, really do make a difference in your life. So go ahead and share that again, because I don't
Yeah.
know if people were able to actually hear us.
Well, the name of the app is Prompter, and I will send you a link to it.
Okay.
But essentially, what you do is you sign up for it, and then it gives you 12 affirmations that you are to write out every day.
Okay.
And then you take a picture of them and you send them. And I don't know if the picture goes anywhere, but it keeps track that you're doing these things. And then when you've done it 21 times, it gives you a new set of 12.
I
And
love that.
they're all different sorts of things. I project my voice perfectly. It's like one I have to
What was
write
the
it.
one you just read me one that's amazing, and I thought that was really
Yeah.
on point.
I know exactly what to think, say, and do to generate maximized returns on my invested time.
I love it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think especially when we were talking about investing in our time and where we put our time, everyone feeling so overwhelmed most of the time, I love the fact that you're focusing on maximize returns as to where you want to put your time. So I think that's a wonderful affirmation. And one of the other things that I like, and my hope really is for the people who are on with us, to gain more insight from our processes, because, when we're talking to extraordinary people, you have segued from one career to the next. And you were extraordinary the first time around, and now you get to be extraordinary where you are, but even more so because you're enjoying it. It makes you really happy. So I guess what my focus is on now that, 2021, we're coming to an end, actually,
Yeah.
what is it that you want to prioritize for the next 2 months as we come near this new year, 2022, with all, I know it's all like this, postmodernist mentality of what we call time and what we experience as, this year and that year. And there's only really a time construct. The reality is that we live our days from morning to night.
Yep.
But for us, we like to organize ourselves, obviously, around a calendar. So with those 2 months left, literally, we have 2 months left. What is it that you prioritize in this season right now of your life?
Well, certainly looking forward to 2022 and planning to make that a good year is certainly something that I spend a lot of time on. Obviously, continuing to grow the business and make the business better. What I find more than anything is just meeting people and trying to find ways to connect them with others and adding value. I'll give you an example. I had a call today. Guy asked me, I won't get into it because it's not confidential, but I'm sure he doesn't need it out there because he's trying to do some things. And he asked me, can I connect him to some people? And it's based on a past life I had in the franchising world. People I know lots of franchise people, and he would like to meet them. And I said, yeah, I know these people. And, if you could introduce me to a couple, that would be great. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to stop at a couple because that makes me have to choose. There's probably 24 here. I'm going to get you a bunch. because you know what? These people don't really mean anything in my world anymore. It's literally the analogy I always use is I don't like coconut. So if I find an almond joy bar, which is coconut, I'm not going to eat it, but I'm not going to throw it away either because you might like coconut or somebody might like coconut.
I like
and
that.
I will give them that candy bar and hopefully then they'll think of me. So at any rate, I told the guy, these people are almond joy bars in my hand, just I'm happy to give them to you, happy to make introductions.
Yeah.
It'll help them.
Yeah.
Before the conversation's over, he's trying to find ways to help me. And I haven't looked at it yet, but he gave me a list of great contacts of people that I'm trying to connect with. And I didn't really expect it, but that's just, so my point is that if we just try and find ways of adding value to others, it comes back to us. We're hardwired as humans
to
reciprocate. And it's just easier to, again, gets back to, I can promote you. I can't self-promote.
My friend says, send the coconut here. Suzanne send the coconut here. I love that. She's awesome. And she's got definitely a great sense of humor too. And I will say this, to your point, and I think that the most amazing thing, here Mike says he likes coconut and almond joy bars. So apparently you've got some takers here, but the point is well taken for sure. I want to get back to this point. And I think that, what you're saying is amazing. And if, I always say it louder so the people in the back can hear, right? That we are here as collaborators. There might be some angle that you could connect someone to that'll make their life easier. And the bottom line is there is nothing that you can lose by matching people up together. And they said, my favorite thing is coconut. A lot of coconuts. I like the analogy. I think you used it again. And the fact that you don't like coconut, come on. My favorite was Mounds. I was like, yeah, for sure. But what I want to tell you, and one of the things I really reiterate over and over again, is that when you're with people and you're even a small part of their celebration or their accomplishment, you feel it. I feel as if it was a part. I feel it was my accomplishment too. Yeah. And I think that the really beautiful thing about your networking hub, for sure, and I'll go back to plug that as well, is because you bring people together. And what magic happens, you don't know about, but it happens and they come back and thank you. And ultimately that you are a part of someone else's success because of the little seeds that you help plant. And, Sarah Elkins I know she's interviewed many people who are authors on here. Love her. I met her in the networking hub, just an amazing person who's of value and who's generous beyond a doubt. And, I want to go back to also the 2022. I'm very visual, visioning, whatever you want to call it. I want to start to be in alignment with those passions and purpose. So I don't feel so exhausted, as I peruse the catalog in this universe, right? We go through it together and we'll look and we'll see. And then at the end of the day, come up with it. But I'm fine tuning the things that really work for me. I want to ask you, what has really have you fine-tuned that really does in fact work for you, that make you a success in what you do?
Well, what I tell people with respect to networking, I use a lot of analogies. Many of them are sports. But in the game of golf, if you're walking up to tee off from a 415-yard par 4 dogleg right, I mean, the hole's so far out and so curved around the corner, you can't even see it. When you're standing on the tee, you're not saying to yourself, geez, I hope I drop it in the cup. You're saying, I hope I hit it straight. I hit it far. Hope I can see the green. This is what the professional golfers do.
Yeah.
And then you want to get on the green. You want to two-putt it. That's how you play that hole. And what that has to do with networking and how I approach life is, you know what this is here? This is a shot off the tee. I don't expect that this is going to drop the ball in the cup and I'm going to magically have tons of money. So what I've really kind of honed my existence on is not really worrying about what comes of that next conversation so much. Just getting out there, having the conversation, talking with people, seeing where I might be able to add value, knowing that they'll probably add value in return. And if they don't, that's okay. That's on them, more on them than me. But every contact leads to another contact.
Yeah.
And eventually you're going to be led into a contact that has real value. I have a franchisee in Pensacola in my business. He came out of the blue. He called me. I remember it was February 8th. I came into the office, and it was the day after the Super Bowl. That's how I remember. It was a long story, but I remember. And I had to ask him. I said, "How did you find me?" And he started throwing. He said, "Well, this person introduced me." I'm like, "I don't even know that person." I didn't say it like that. I'm like, "I don't even." But I'm thinking, I don't even know this person.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, he got your name from," and he fired out another name. And I said, "I know that person.
Yeah.
He's one of my competitors.
Amazing.
Why is he referring me business?"
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So I called the guy up, and I don't want to say anything. I don't want to get him in trouble. I don't want to say who he is. But I called him up and I just said, "Thank you, but why?" He said, "Frank, I like you. I just like the way you operate." Okay,
Okay.
and you start piecing all these little steps together. And so I think too often people get caught up in what's in it for me with respect to this.
Yeah.
And the reality is there's something in it for you every step of the way.
I love that.
So
Yeah. First of all, that's a great story. I think that the reality is, we all show. I used to tell this to my interns when I was training them. I said, your reputation is really everything. How you show up on the daily, how you treat people on the daily, that is going to do more for your life in this job than anything else. You are kind, you are courteous, you are respectful, and in the end, it will come back to you. It doesn't matter the case is contentious, doesn't matter the case is adversarial. It's how you act in the manner in which your reputation is, your show up in the world. And I have been able to have more opportunity come to me by virtue of the fact that when people see me, yeah, maybe I was on the other side of the bench, right? But they'll say, God, Meg was a class act. And that really makes me proud. And the reality is that you're having a competitor speak back to you saying that you are a great person and that I want to help you out. Everyone's saying this is truth. Relations built on communications and trust. You get it. And this, I think, will be the best results in the end to a better world that we have when people turn into collaborators rather than competitors. Because, like you said, stay in your own lane and focus on that. And ultimately, like your wife said, there's no, well, your client first, there's no competition for excellence. And you have to create that what you want to be a part of. And if you want to create something where people turn around and they talk about each other in a best way, it's like that analogy where people go to the town, they say, what kind of town is this? And the guy says, well, where did you come from? And they'll say, I came from a terrible place, Well, that's what you'll find here, more of the same. And then next person comes to town, the same question to the gatekeeper. What kind of town is this? Well, they ask the same question. And he says, that was wonderful. I almost hated to leave. I just knew I had to go. He said, well, you will find more of the same here. And I think that who you are is what you see, and the mirror effect as well. I want to keep going because I want to ask, this is you, and I want to hear all these wonderful things about you. At the beginning of the interview, we talked about getting intentional, setting your intention, and then matching it to one of the pages on the magical guide. So what was your intention for this evening, Frank?
Well, my intention for this evening was adding value and inspiring people, and matching it to the quote you had me do. And it's interesting because the quote number 4, or it's on section 43 or page 43, or today is going to be an amazing day. And that's something that hangs in my closet. I see it every day. I kiss my wife goodbye. It's going to be a great day. Right? It's just going to be a great day. I don't know how or why or whatever. I'm not saying I'm going to win the lottery or anything like that, but something good's coming from today. I can't wait to get to work.
Wow. And that coupled with their greatest successes are yet to come. Your greatest accomplishments are yet to come. And I love it. Today is going to be an amazing day. And I think that, when you come from a place of generosity and you are, and then you want to bring that kind of sentiment to the world, then you will meet that wherever you go. And I really do admire you for that. I watch you even in your networking your networking hub. And I had the honor of being on your podcast, which is the Networking RX, which will be airing this week as well, and we'll have to promote that as well. Mike Spatola is saying make today a masterpiece. So everybody has their rah rah speech at the beginning and the end of the day. And how was your masterpiece today? The whole culmination of you processing all the wonderful things that happened today. And it's certainly everyone being here, engaging this conversation, especially about the coconuts, is what I'm going to remember most. The coconuts. If you don't like the coconuts, find someone who likes the coconuts. It's not trash, right? It's someone's treasure. Find the people who want what you have and share the wealth. So one of the things I like as well is, the whole idea of manifesting your dreams and really living your life with purpose, on great purpose. And certainly, Frank, that is what you do. So I want not only the final inspirational word, before we get there, I want to leave everybody with that, but I want to advise or help everyone, find you. And I'm going to show everybody in the stream your wonderful, let me take this down a second. I'm going to show, this is your AM Spirit Business Connections, your Networking RX, and this is one of your books, The Champion, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about where we can find you, spell it out so people can hear you on the podcast, so that we can make sure that if they're looking for a wonderful networking space, they go somewhere that is completely wonderful.
Yeah. My business, AM Spirit Business Connections, we help entrepreneurs, sales reps, professionals. If I have groups all over, I'm working with a young woman in Miami, Florida, to get a group going. And if somebody's interested, I can get them an invitation. She's a young realtor and just really trying to be a go-getter. I've got a podcast. It comes out 3 times a week with interviews. Meg's is coming out, or me talking about things related to relationships. Really is what it's all about. And then I've written a number of books, but you can find everything. I've got a website, www.frankagin.com, FRANKAGIN.com. And that's really all things about me. It connects to my email, my Facebook, my LinkedIn, shows all the books I've written, links to the podcasts, some of the charitable things I do as well.
I love that. You guys, I really do encourage you all to reach out to him, because certainly the networking, like I said, the networking hub is a week from this Wednesday. And it is really a wonderful opportunity. The way they have it set up is that he presents a short little, an insight of the day as to businesses and entrepreneurship and things like that. And then we break up in groups where we get to meet some of the individuals. And actually the question is, what do you need help with? And people are encouraged to come forward and ask the big ask, because only then will other people know what it is that you need and whether they have the coconut and the almond joy bar that you could use. So literally, it is a wonderful experience where people definitely give a lot of value and you get value in return. So one of my favorite times of the evening is the final inspiration by Frank. How do you send us all away tonight?
I get asked this question, not this question, but when I go out and work with groups, people are always, what's the one thing I can do to really get myself networked? And I'm talking to people who may have had a corporate job for 30 years. And, it's akin to being married and all of a sudden finding yourself single. They haven't built a network. They don't know what to do. Yeah. They want that, I guess, quick advice. What can I do to jumpstart this? And I always tell people, listen, find something you're really passionate about and volunteer. Get out there and volunteer. Because when you do, you're going to be rubbing elbows with other people who are passionate about the same thing.
Yes.
And you'll have that in common and build friendships and whatnot. And you don't even have to tell them what you do. They'll figure it out. They will figure it out. But the other thing is that there's a whole world of people who will see you doing it. And they may not have that same passion, but they'll realize that, okay, you know what? he or she's really into homelessness or human trafficking
Yeah.
or youth sports or whatever it is, I kind of like him or her because of that.
Yeah.
And so it's a very powerful way of getting yourself out there, networked in the community, being known, liked, and trusted.
Yeah. And when you say really into homelessness and human trafficking, you mean preventing or helping with the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah,
I love it. I was like, oh no, I know exactly what you mean for
yeah,
sure. But the funny thing is that we can laugh at ourselves, and certainly I
yeah.
did whatever. But the reality is, once again, thank you all for being here. Once again, volunteering. Leslie is saying, I love to volunteer. It is an amazing place where you can meet a lot of wonderful people who align to those things that you want to see and make a difference with. So, we have Beth Simonton on here. She certainly is a wonderful, wonderful example as well. She volunteers and she actually started a nonprofit for NICU, for babies in the ICU, which she's, and the people that are involved are passionate about helping that, and they want to help her because she's so amazing. So, that's a great way to end. If you have any interest in certain things, go volunteer, if you have the time, get out there, create the world that you want to see. Like our friend Frank here says, sometimes you have to create that which you want to be a part of. So I will also, once again, encourage all of you to join Frank a week from Wednesday. And also, if you have any kind of curiosity involving the AM Spirit and the business connections, and especially there's a group in Miami starting, reach out to me or Frank as well. I'll put the information in the feed tonight. Thank you guys for your patience. We had a little blip in the Facebook feed. We appreciate you guys. Sometimes the internet does its own thing and we just have to go with the flow. So that being said, I want to thank you all again. Thank you so much, Frank, for being a part of Manifesting with Meg. Thank you for starting off the month of gratitude. You are definitely someone that I do emulate, and I think that is just a fantastic, inspiring person. And I can't wait to see what your greatest accomplishments are to yet become. So with that, remember, you're all deliberate creators of your world. Dream big. Let us all together raise the positive vibrations on this planet so that we can all live our best life. Let's love ourselves exactly where we are. Be bold. And like Mike says, be an awakener. Time to manifest the life of your dreams. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And have an amazing November to remember, filled with attitude of gratitude and the like. And we'll see you in the networking hub. Good night, everybody. Good night, Frank.
Night.